The world is full of people, all different people, with different cultures, beliefs, looks, ideas. Each person is unique and has their own view on how they see the world. In some ways, when a person dies, a world dies. Some people see things how any other person sees things, while others differ. In people's perspectives, no one ever believes that they are the bad guy. An example are the explorers of the New Worlds, who had to overcome challenges to conquer for their country, versus the innocent workers of the land who were there first. Let's look through the eyes of the conquerors. Conquistadors or the explorers. They were curious people. They had the urge to discover new things. They went out and they explored. Before they went on their journey, they had to be well educated, and they wanted to be well educated and learn more, because learning meant power. That's something that they wanted. And they worked hard, and they had everything prepared, and they were educated beforehand. Most of them were. And they would stop at nothing to get the power that they want. An example of one of those explorers was Hernan Cortes, the conquistador from Spain. Hernan Cortes wrote a letter to the Majesty when he came into the Aztec area, and he wrote about how the Aztecs were and how they acted, and you can tell from this letter what he thought about their ways.
People who inhabit this country, from the island of Cozumel and the Cape of the Yucatan to the place where we are now, are people of middle size, with bodies and features well proportioned, except in that each province their customs differ, some piercing the ears, putting large and ugly objects in them, and others piercing the nostrils down to the mouth, and putting a large round stone like mirrors, and others piercing their underlips down as far as their gums, and hanging from them large round stones, or pieces of gold, so weighty that they pull down their nether lip and make it appear to be very deformed. The clothing which they wear is like long veils, very curiously worked. The men wear beach cloths around their bodies, and large mantles, very thin and painted in the style of Moorish draperies. The women of the ordinary people wear from their waist to their feet clothes also very much painted, some covering their breasts and leaving the rest of their body uncovered. Every day before they undertake any work, they burn incense in the said mosques, and sometimes they sacrifice their own persons, some hacking the body with knives, and offer up to their idols the blood which flows, sprinkling it on all sides of those mosques, at other times throwing it up towards the heavens, and practicing many other kinds of ceremonies, so that they undertake nothing without first offering sacrifice there. They have another custom, horrible and abominable, and deserving punishment, from which we have never before seen in any other place. And it is this, that as often as they have anything to ask of their idols, in order that their petition may be more acceptable, they take many boys or girls, or even grown men and women, and in the presence of those idols they open their breasts, which they are alive, and take out their hearts and entrails, and burn the said entrails, hearts, before the idols, offering that smoke in sacrifice to them. Some of us who have seen this say that it is the most terrible and frightful thing to behold that has ever been seen. So frequently and so often do these Indians to do this, according to our information and partly by what we have seen in the short time we are in this country, that no year passes in which they do not kill and sacrifice 50 souls in each mosque. and this is practiced and held as customary for the Isle of Cozumel to the country in which we are now settled. Your Majesty may rest assured that according to the size of the land, which to us seems very considerable, and the many mosques which they have, there is no year as far as we have until now discovered and seen, when they do not kill and sacrifice in the manner some 3,000 or 4,000 souls. Now let your Royal Highness consider if they ought not to prevent so great an evil and crime, and certainly God our Lord will be pleased if, through the command of your Royal Highness, these people should be annihilated and instructed in our very holy Catholic faith.
%90 of the natives and indigenous people were killed just from diseases alone, which is 55 million people from the indigenous people. There was smallpox, the bubonic plague, the cholera, diphtheria, chickenpox, influenza, malaria, measles, scarlet fever, typhus, and sexually transmitted diseases. Lord of the Inca Empire was captured and held for a huge ransom. It was a ransom that they couldn't even, it was very hard, it wasn't fair ransom. Well, no ransom was fair, they shouldn't have captured them in the first place, but they were able to produce the amount of money, they were able to do it. But after that they produced the money, the conquerors, they executed Atahualpa. How I think of how the natives and the indigenous people felt was from a poem by Anne Plateau. It goes,
"Tell me a story, Father, please." And then I sat upon his knees. Then answered he, "What speech may known, or tell the word of native tone, of how my Indian father dwelt, and of sore oppression felt, and how they mourned a land serene. It was an ever mournful theme." "Yes," I replied, "I like to hear, and bring my father's spirit near. Of every pain they did forego, oh please tell me all you know. In history often I do read of pain which none but they did heed." He thus began, "We were a happy race, when we no tongue of ours did trace. We were in ever peace, we sold, we did release our brethren far remote and far unknown, and spake to them in silent, tender tone. We were then, as in one band, and we joined and took each other's hand. Our dress was suited to the climb, our food was such a Rome that time. Our houses were sticks composed, no matter, for they us enclosed. But then discovered was this land indeed by European men, who then had need of this far country. Columbus came afar, and thus before we could say, ah, what meaneth this? We fell in cruel hands. Though some were kind, yet others then had been of cruel oppression. Then too foretold our chief, beggars you will become, is my belief. We were sold, then some bought lands. We altogether moved in foreign hands. Wars ensued, they knew the handling of firearms. Mothers spoke, no fear this breast alarms. They will not cruelty us oppress, or thus our lands possess. Alas! It was a cruel day, we were crushed. Into the dark woods we rushed to seek a refuge. My daughter, we are now diminished, unknown, and felt, alas, no tender tone to cheer us when the hunt is done. Fathers sleep, we're silent everyone. Oh, silent the horror and fierce the fight, when brothers were shrouded in the night. Strangers did us invade, strangers destroyed the fields which we by us enjoyed. Our country is cultured
and from their viewpoint, they had no control over the situation. And they were just living off the land. They were doing what they thought was right, their culture. And they were not dumb people or savages. They just had a different viewpoint of of the conquerors and the explorers, and the explorers weren't afraid to let them know that they were wrong, which ended in a lot of deaths.
Again, everyone is different, and everyone views things in their own perspective. They think they're not the bad guys, or that what others are doing is wrong. But it's from perspective, and each perspective is a different world.